Hello, hello, hello. So, the dollar store has been selling these make your own candle kits for a good little while now, at least up here, for like $8. That's kind of expensive for a 3.3 ounce candle. But you know what? We're gonna see if it actually includes everything that you need to make a candle. It claims that it has everything you need. There is the wax, which I will need to smash. There is the code for instructions, which I do appreciate. I, however, have made candles briefly professionally, so we'll see if I actually need that. This is all just fluff, which tells me that this is absolutely too large of a packaging for this amount of things. It says it contains the wick and stuff, so I'm hoping that's in here. Because right now I'm not seeing a wick. Okay, cool. There it is. So, I'm also just going to say it. While I appreciate having a wood wick, I have not had any luck whatsoever with any wood wick candles that I've ever had actually functioning. And by that I mean, I've had no luck making, like, actually having a wood wick candle burn for longer than my first time I light the wick. I've had like 4 or 5 wood wick candles, all from different brands and stuff, and none of them, not one of them, has correctly functioned. That is an awfully small wick. It feels like they gave us more wax than we actually need for how little this is, especially with how little this wick is. Because even if I pull it all of the way to the top, it's still leaving. It's still leaving like a good several centimeters from the top, and you're supposed to put it all the way down, I assume. Then again, if it's all the way down, you're losing a good chunk of what you can actually burn. Because the other problem with wood wicks is that because they have to be in this little metal thing, you can never get a complete burn anyways because it won't go down. So I'm just gonna not put it all the way down so that way I can get as much burn as possible. Because I'm one of those people that whatever's left of a candle, I will remelt and turn into wax melts. That way nothing gets wasted. So I would rather use as much of the wood wick as possible if the fucking wood wick works. Again, I've had literally no luck making wood wicks actually function. They do give you a warning sticker, so you could technically make this as a gift. But anyway, now is the time in which I pause to melt the wax and add the uh thing. Add the sauce. Add the smelly sauces. Let's see. Okay. like I should be able to melt this in microwave. I shouldn't have to double boiler this, because it's just a soy wax. Also, it would be really, really weird for a dollar store kit of all things to include a wax that has to be double boiler methoded, because you would have to be under the assumption that that you might have a younger audience. I'm going to put this here preemptively for the container that I am going to melt the wax in, because I know from experience that wax can sometimes solidify pretty quickly, which is why I'm also going to preemptively Alright, the fragrance oil is incredibly well sealed, which is great, except for the fact that it literally won't open. It's not opening. Alright, I'm going to argue with the fragrance oil and melt the wax, and we shall be right back. Alright, the wax took about 2 minutes to melt, which is about what I expected. There's still a couple little chunks that will vanish as we do things. This says it can easily hold up to 12% scent ratio, which I'm kind of just going to take as add as much as you like, because that's a really large amount. And I like my stuff strong. This also gives you a really large amount of leftover fragrance oil, which is great, because if you're like me, you have a bunch of random burners for that anyways, and you can just put it on there. Ooh, that is actually a really nice coffee smell. This is not part of the kit, but I do happen to have some caramel instant coffee, and that's weirdly common that I've seen in embedded in the wax of candles around here is just coffee bits. So I'm just gonna, I don't know. I just want to see, because this will also color it, which it doesn't come with any colorant, which is fine. But I kind of like my candles to have a little bit of color. I do also have this is a heat proof pad, by the way. I use it to protect my wood when I'm eating ramen at my desk like a normal person. I do also have a extra container for any extra wax, but it looks like they made this so it fits perfectly. Swell. And I didn't spill any on my mat. Not that it matters. My mat is perfectly waterproof. But yeah. I guess now the problem is I won't know how well it burns until it dries. But it looks like I also just barely made that wick off center. Dang. Ah well. But yeah. That was a very cute little kit. I'm gonna put the lid on it loosely. Keyword loosely, because it is still hot. I mostly just put the lid on to keep anything from falling into it. So that was a cute little kit. I will post a short later showing how well it actually burns. Eventually. If I record that short before this video goes up, that short will play now. Alright, this has had a whole day to chill, to harden, to finish doing what it do. It has a really, really good smell, just already. That wood wick lit way easier than any of the other times I've had a wood wick, and I don't know if that's good or bad. It does smell really, really good though. So I am hoping that it actually works. That would be great. This kind of wax does tend to have a fairly low melting point. I think that's why this kind is typically used in kits like this. Because as you can see, there's a little puddle forming already. But yeah. I will put in later if it does anything freaking weird. Like, you know, randomly go out after how long? It went out. It went out. It's been like 3 minutes. It went out. That's the problem with this kind of wax. It formed a pool so quickly, and it didn't melt anything around it that it knocked it out already. So that was actually what I was kind of afraid of, because of how quickly this kind of wax melts, that it wouldn't stay up. Yep. Alright, so that makes this kit an absolute crap kit, because the end result doesn't work whatsoever. Now, the fortunate thing for me is that I have one of those candle lamps that I can just shove this underneath, since it doesn't want to work this way. That sucks for anyone who doesn't have one of those, though, because you just wasted $8 and got an incredibly tiny candle that doesn't even work. Anyway, yeah, so updating what I said in the video, I will not buy this kit again, because it doesn't fucking work. Was that kit worth $8? I would say probably closer to $6 if you can find it on sale. Because the main expensive part of that kit is the fact that they gave you a huge amount of fragrance oil. Like, this entire thing is full. And I still have up to this line of the fragrance oil. So they give you a crap ton of fragrance oil that you can then do with what you like. Add to whatever burners or whatever that you want to use them in. So that is actually where the main cost is coming from, because wax like that is not that expensive if you buy it in bulk. The little container, maybe, because it is actual metal. I think the fact that they're selling it to you as a wood wick is probably also what's making it a little more expensive, because a lot of people view the wood wicks as a more luxury idea. But yeah, for how short of a time it took to make, I would say it's probably closer to a $6 project than an $8 one, if that makes sense. Would I buy it again? Absolutely, if I found it on sale. But that is a very small candle for $8. Anywho, that is all, and toodaloo.